Hello, I'm Mirjahon Turdiv. I'm with Transnational NGO Initiative here. Today I'm undertaking a brief interview with Mr. Eric Rosenthal, who is the founder and executive director of Disability Rights International, which is also DRI. Mr. Rosenthal has received a number of awards for his advocacy work on promoting the rights of people with disabilities internationally. Welcome, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to take this interview with you. Yeah. I have a few questions for our interview today. First, could you please tell us about the mission and activities of Disability Rights International? How does it fit within the sector of disability-focused NGOs?
We're a human rights organization dedicated to the protection and full participation of people with disabilities around the world. We conduct investigations, we document human rights violations, and we use that to support local advocacy and to pressure governments to enforce rights. Very much traditional, much like Amnesty International did for political dissidents, we're standing up for the rights of people with disabilities. We tend to specialize on the concerns of where people are subject to the most egregious abuses. Children in orphanages, adults in psychiatric facilities, nursing homes. And what we found after 20 years of this work is that the very fact of segregation, of putting people away, is the underlying cause to many of the abuses that we see. And so we are now committed to ending institutionalization itself. We've adopted a world campaign to end the institutionalization of children. We believe this is a problem that can be fixed. It's man-made. It's got a solution. Children should be part of society. There are 10 million children around the world who are put away in institutions. We know that institutionalization generates disability. It leaves children subject to every form of violence, exploitation, sex trafficking, and abuse. And we believe the answer is to end any institutionalization of children, and then the other forms of abuse that we have documented will ultimately go away.
Wow, that's a great mission, you have a great task with your organization. Then I would just ask your questions specifically related to you. Like, what does your typical day look like for you? Like, what should students think or know about your daily work?
Well, we're a very decentralized organization. The real advocacy goes out in the field. We have offices in Mexico, Serbia, Ukraine, Republic of Georgia. We've done work in 36 countries around the world. I love and admire the work of the activists who are in the trenches fighting against abuses in their own countries. In Washington, we provide support for the people out in the field, and my work is mostly policy work, trying to influence international donors so that instead of funding institutions, they fund community services, and they fund the work of those fabulous and courageous activists who are bringing about change in their own countries. So the day-to-day work in the field is a lot more exciting, but I'm doing my part, and I'm really inspired to help those other people do theirs.
Well, that sounds like your job keeps you very busy.
Absolutely.
In here and in distance. Yep. Disability Rights International is considered one of the very highly successful NGOs. And as the leader of this highly successful NGO, what do you consider are the key factors to running your NGO so successfully?
The key factors, well, I think ultimately, having a broad and bold vision of what you want to accomplish, thinking outside of the box. When I founded the organization, it's now been 25 years, no one in the international human rights community was calling these issues a human rights issue. They weren't using international laws. They weren't raising international oversight. So what we did is we introduced something entirely new. Now, many different groups are doing this, but what we were committed to doing is putting the issue on the table. So what I encourage activists to do is look at how does the world need to be fundamentally different? Think expansively, think creatively, and about addressing underlying problems that are going to affect as large a number of people as possible. The second factor, I think, is involving the constituents in the work. The head of my organization, Laurie Ahern, is herself the survivor of abuse as a child. So we understand what it's like to grow up in an institution. She was institutionalized herself, and we have always involved constituents. We've always involved people with disabilities. We've involved family members. I myself have a number of family members who've been institutionalized, who've had diagnoses of mental health problems, and it's speaking from that understanding. We've helped set up 7 different organizations around the world doing human rights work for this population, and most of those have been led by people with disabilities themselves, and including some formerly institutionalized people. So it's a reality check. It's an understanding of what those issues really are. That is very, very important.
Well, that kind of approach, like putting the people with disabilities in front line as a self-advocates,
Right.
probably one of the important factors, as
Absolutely,
you said.
absolutely.
Successful.
I myself am a lawyer, and from my point of view, marrying disability advocacy with legal advocacy is an approach that I think is important as well. The idea that these aren't just good social policies, these are rights, and that you can and must hold governments accountable. So looking at that legal framework and enforceability is critical as well.
Wow. As you know, here one of our audience includes some students who might pursue their future career in NGO sector, and
Sure.
maybe some of them would be focusing on disability rights too. What career advices do you want to give the students who wish to pursue in NGO sector, and what are the core features or values, skills NGO workers should have?
Well, I mean, the first one, which is not new to me, but is to follow your passion, to do the thing that you consider to be most important in the world, to do the thing that you love, and you will find the energy to climb any mountain if you know this is what you really want to do. This is my personal calling, this is what gives me focus, and so if I weren't so deeply committed to it, it would be hard to face what are very serious obstacles and challenging. Getting enough money to do the work, overcoming prejudice, overcoming obstacles, overcoming many vested interests who don't want change. I've called many bad things for standing up for these rights. So know that this is your true cause, and know that you care about something really matters a lot. I would then suggest to people that of course, you network as much as possible, you find out what opportunities are there, but I've never been given a job. Since I graduated from law school, I've had to create my own. And that is the next message I would, if you really want to do something special, you have to be able to create opportunities for yourself. The world may not hand it to you. And in the case of the 7 organizations that we've founded, we've only been able to found them because we found an incredible leader in their own society who wanted to make change, and they found us. And we then worked together to create something entirely new. So be willing to take risks, be willing to follow your passion, and to be willing to go to places that other people have not gone before.
Wow, that was so strong message. Thank you very much for this very useful and insightful conversation and interview, which our students will value, I believe.
Okay.